Hey guys, Tiffany Ofili Porter here, where I discuss all things life after sports. As you can see here, we got another guest up in this thing. This is my husband, Jeff Porter, Dr. Jeff Porter, two-time Olympian, and we are going to be having a pretty good conversation today. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. So in this video in particular, we are going to be talking about our journey to the Olympic Games and some lessons that you can learn from our story. You ready?
Yep.
So, quick introduction for those of you who don't know. I'm a three-time Olympian, former professional track athlete in the 100 hurdles, had a very successful track career for about 12 years, one that I'm very proud of. My husband also is a two-time Olympian, the 110 hurdles, and you had a 10-year-long professional track career as well. And I just think it's really special to, first of all, have a husband and wife who both went to the Olympics in the same event.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a little sister who is also training for her third Olympic Games. And fun fact, he coached both of us to the last Olympic Games.
There's another video you should watch out.
Actually, we might make this a series. Good suggestion, baby. We're going to make this Olympic Talk a series because for those of you who may be living under a rock, the Olympics are coming up in about a month. Less than a month. The countdown is on for the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games in Paris. I had to think about that. I'm literally going. I have to think. I was going to say Tokyo. In Paris. I know. And I just thought this conversation was just the perfect fit to kind of get things started, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff, go ahead and just give from your perspective a little bit, like a quick, fast, dirty journey to the Olympics for Jeffrey Porter.
Well, there's nothing quick, fast about it. So I came out of college. I made the finals in the NCAA Championships 2007, but I didn't have a great series of like meets. I didn't run a fast time. And so it was hard for me to find an agent, hard for me to find a new coach. And so my journey was different. My journey was a bit more challenging on the front end because I didn't know how the system worked. I didn't know how European travel works. I didn't know the European agents. I didn't know a lot. So I got a really quick crash course on how to run track professionally, on who the coaches are, who the players are, where the meets are. And my journey was slow. Quite candidly, my journey was very slow. I went to 2008 Olympic trials for Team USA. As they say, Team USA Olympic trials is home of the hardest team to make. There were 4 rounds of the men's 110 hurdles for the qualifying.
Really?
There were 4 rounds, and I'd get it to the second round. I didn't make the semifinals and the finals, so I had to watch the Olympic trials, semifinals, and finals from my hotel room because I just couldn't go to see them to watch. I was just devastated, and that was the last time I saw my dad alive because he was battling cancer at the time, so it was just a lot going on. So my process to the Olympic Games from 2008 2012 was slow. It was. And when people say a 1% increase every year, it was literally dropping a tenth of a second in my time every year for 4 years.
And flash forward 4 years later, what happened?
Well, that's a whole story in and of itself. And so we can get into that a little bit, but 4 years later, I made the Olympic team. There's only 3 spots, and I was the 3rd spot in.
You were the 3rd spot in at the Olympic trials in 2012. I was there in the infamous dive across the line. That's like Jeff's.
There was an image of that. There was a great image of that. It made Sports Illustrated, by the way.
Yes, indeed. So lesson number 1 right there. Jeff had been an athlete for his whole life, went to his first Olympic trials, did not make it, persevered 4 years later against all odds because these commentators didn't even mention his name in the starting lineup, makes the team against some of the best athletes in the world.
No. The best athletes in the world, right? So
that's arguable because 2012, who won the Olympics?
The guy who won the Olympic trials.
Aries did win in 2012. Okay, but the point
and broke the world record.
Okay, but the point I'm trying to make is,
and in 2011, Jason was the world champ.
Okay, fair enough. The point I'm trying to make
is... And
in
2010, T.O. was number 1, so I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, touche. The point I'm trying to make is, even though things may not happen immediately, persevere, keep working hard, and trust the process and know that a lot can happen when you just continue to put your best foot forward and continue to show up. And I know that might sound cliche, but it really is the truth.
No, I went from 13.5 to 13.4, 13.4, 13.3. I remember each one of those progressions, and then I hit 13.2. I was like, oh, I might have a shot. And there was always one opportunity where you realize this thing can actually happen. So,
and then Fast forward 4 years later, 2016.
Wow, 2016 was different. 2016 was different. There was a lot. I wasn't running well. I was just kind of average, right? I was not progressing as well as I wanted to. I wasn't getting the races I needed to race, and so it was 2016 was a hard year for me. And I remember the key moment in 2016 was I was in 5 countries in 9 days.
Literally. And like 3 continents.
Oh yeah, 3 continents.
Yes.
And I had to be, and I'll never forget, I had to be in Eugene, Oregon, in for the Nike Prefontaine Classic.
Yep, I was there with you.
But I was in Senegal when I got the call, so I had 24 hours to get there before the race. So.
Senegal in West Africa to come back to North America via Europe. I think you stopped in Europe.
So I had to. So that whole trip was wild.
It was insane. But the point is, just in general, for your journey in 2016, you go to the trials, and what happens?
I go to trials and end up third again.
He ends up third. He makes his second Olympic team in the 110 hurdles. Again, the field is stacked. And for those of you who don't know how track works, it is really difficult to stay on top of your game for such a long period of time. You'll hear people who have a great year here, a great year there, but to be able to be consistent and to show up year in and year out, and then to make an Olympic team 2 times in a row consecutively in such a stacked event is not only a testament, I think, to your hard work and your drive, but just the fact that you just don't count people out. You do not count people out. I'm sure people may have thought, oh, it was a fluke. You made that team the first time. Whatever. He just got lucky. It was his day. He said that the second time around.
Yep. I mean, coach wanted me to do it one more time, but I was like, I'm getting old. Anyway, my journey was a lot different than Tiffany's journey. It was because, again, I competed for Team USA, and if we don't know, Team USA, again, is one of the
hardest just love saying that. We heard you the first time when you said it.
I'm going to say it louder for people in the back.
So my journey to the Olympic Games was not as dramatic as Jeff. I wasn't diving through finish lines and
I started a trend
and all the things to get there. But I did attend my first Olympic Games in 2012 in London. And for those of you who don't know, I compete for Great Britain. So that was a very special games, being that it was a home games. And I was really frustrated because going into that games, the year before, I had a fantastic year, and I really wanted to capitalize on that and just go and like perform the following year, and it just didn't happen. I got injured in the lead up to the Olympic Games, and because of that back injury, I just wasn't fit. I didn't have the work and the fitness to go and even just put on even a half decent showing. So even though it was my first Olympic Games and I was extremely proud to be able to finally say that I was an Olympian, it was a bit bittersweet for me. I just felt like I left so much on the table. That was 2012. And again, sometimes I look back on that experience fondly, but also with a little bit, just like a bitter taste in my mouth. And then the following year, I was like, this is not going to happen to me again. Next time I show up, your girl is going to get some hardware. And that's literally what happened. I went and got my first world championship medal in Moscow in the 100 hurdles. And that actually still to this very day is probably one of my proudest sporting achievements, I would say, because to get a world championship medal against an amazing field and in such a stacked race is just a huge accomplishment. And all these years later, something that I'm still very proud of. And again, I think that is a testament to bouncing back. This is lesson number 3 here. I mean, yes, people may have said, oh, whatever, she's this, she's that, she's not good. And that kind of comes with the territory with sports. You have people who just have opinions, and it is what it is. Athletes, we're tough, we can handle that. But when you start to internalize that negative self-talk, it can affect you not only as an athlete, but as a human. So I was able to silence that noise, go back to the drawing boards, work really hard, and come away with that medal the following year was just such a huge relief for me, just to prove that I knew I could do it. So for anybody listening out there, whether you're an athlete, former athlete, want to be an athlete, not an athlete, I think a huge moral here is that there is so much beauty and strength in just trusting the process, believing in yourself, and knowing that you can bounce back from disappointments. Yeah. So the following year, 2014, I got I think, world championship medal indoors. 2015, I had a bad showing at the world championships, even though that was a good year for me. I should have done better in that world championships, whatever. 2016, in Rio. Jeff and I were there together. My little sister was also
Yeah, that was fun.
there at her first Olympic Games. That was in Rio. And that was also a very special experience. It was the first time that I actually made it to a final in the Olympic Games. And just to have my sister, she and I were both in the final. She got fourth, I got seventh, I think.
So that was a funny story too, because you guys made the finals, but like in different ways. You made it as
by the skin of my teeth.
You made it as a time qualifier.
Yes.
She made it on place.
Yes.
So she comes back from the semifinals like on 10, but she's so confused, right? She goes, I don't know what happened. I just know what happened. So I sent her one direction, and I don't know where your coach was at that time. So I apparently was your coach. And then you come back and you're mad. And I'm like, okay, so you need to pull your head out of your butt and we need to get ready for this final.
And little did we know at that time that kind of birthed the coaching athlete dynamic that we didn't even realize was going to be a thing until years later when I made the decision to kind of transition to a new coach, and it happened to be my husband.
Happened to be me.
Yes, and we already have 2 videos on how it was Jeff coaching me to the Olympic Games from my perspective and from his perspective. I'm going to go ahead and link them up here, so make sure you guys check that out to just kind of have more insight on what that dynamic really looked like. But I just think being there at the Olympic Games, all 3 of us, a family affair, all of us with our own individual stories, I think was just very special. Jeff is here kind of as like this underdog who people may have written off, but he proved to folks that I belong to be here. I earned this spot. I am a 2-time Olympian. My sister being there for the first time, very bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, green, didn't really know her left from her right in the track world, and goes out there and gets 4th. Shout out to her. Big things coming in Paris. I'm claiming it now in the name of Jesus. And then me being there also at that time as a 2-time Olympian, having come off some of the better seasons of my career and, making that final, that was a childhood dream. Obviously, everybody at the Olympics would have preferred to get a medal. It didn't quite work out for me at that games. But I just think the fact that we were all able to do it from very different perspectives just shows that sometimes in life, again, I think this is like lesson number 4 here. I'm giving y'all some nuggets, so make sure you got your pad and your paper, or pad and your pen, paper and pen, you know what I'm trying to say. But I think that is just a lesson that sometimes people's journeys to get to the same place can look very, very different. So I think it's just important to embrace your journey, embrace the steps that you have to take to get somewhere, and just truly believe that if it's meant to be for you, it will be, and nothing can stand in the way of that. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Only thing I would add is during the journey, there's different opportunities for momentum to build, and you got to ride that wave. And for me, that was one of the biggest things is there was always a race in 2016 and there was a race in 2012 where that momentum was, oh my goodness, I think I can actually do this. And so that belief, that momentum was what really carried me into the championships.
That's true. And I think that could be a testament to life.
You got to ride the momentum because things will happen, but if you can start to see all that work and then all the time you put in, and you start to see the incremental improvement, and then that wheel starts to go downhill, pick up speed. That's exciting, and that's the part where it becomes more real.
And to be honest, as you were saying that, I just had this visual of an iceberg, right? We see the tip of an iceberg, and there's so much more underneath the water of an iceberg. All those years of sacrifice, all those years of work, all those years of doubt, all those hours of sweat, blood, and tears that you are putting towards a craft, whether that be as an Olympian or in your boardroom as an alumni engagement officer or a pharmacy student or an accountant or whatever it looks like for you. So much work goes on behind the scenes that people don't necessarily see, that might not be celebrated, that might not be, even recognized. But yet the work that you're putting on behind closed doors. So when you go out there and you get that promotion, or you get that huge jump in salary, or you get that Olympic final, or you make that team, or whatever it is for you in your life, I earned this. I deserve a seat at this table. I belong here, and I worked for what I have. And I think there's a lot of confidence in that.
After I made the team, I had to go back and do my dissertation.
Literally, yes.
And then had to go back to work the following Monday.
Yeah. So, so many people see the lives of athletes And I think this is just so relatable and just so transferable to life in general. You see the life of somebody, and sometimes you think, man, dang, they're lucky, or oh, it was an overnight success. And more often than not, those overnight successes took several years to get to that point. So I think one, it's important to not envy people in their journey because you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And as they say, heavy is the crown for people who are out here doing it because it does take work. And then two, all that work that you put in behind closed doors will pay off in one way or another. I'm such a huge believer in that because of my journey as an athlete, as an Olympian, and just because of the things that I've gone through in my life as a person. Yeah.
Yep.
And then kind of moving to the final Olympic Games, this time me as a mom, as a seasoned athlete, my sister.
We missed our plane to the game.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that. My sister as a two-time Olympian, and now my husband as a two-time Olympian, but now stepping into the role of Olympic coach. I think us just all being there again in very different capacities, that there's so much lesson in that in and of itself.
I mean, there's no way I thought I was going to be coaching you and Cindy.
I know.
I mean, it was past COVID. It was going to Tokyo. I got both of you. You know, Cindy's still coming back from her Achilles rupture. You're coming back from pregnancy. I was like, all right, well, I got to get these two athletes who, again, people didn't think were going to come back to that high class level. Yeah, I was running 12.5 and 12.6 in April. You know, you're welcome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you, baby. Thank you. You were a great coach.
Yeah, I yelled at him every day.
He loved you. That was the only time I let him yell at me because we don't yell over here in these streets, in this house.
Got yelled at every day.
But I think, first of all, he mentioned us missing our plane. That was just, first of all, it was his fault. But basically, he underestimated how long it took to get from North Jersey to LaGuardia. Or was it JFK?
JFK.
To JFK. And then also, I was really sad about leaving my daughter. It was an extended period of time. They weren't allowing children into the village. And it was like 2.5 weeks that I was going to be without my daughter. So it was a little bit challenging. And I maybe stayed an extra 5 minutes to give her extra hugs. That's what he's talking about. But kind of just moving on from that conversation is that, yes, us being there at our my third and final Olympic Games, my sister's second and his third now as a coach. I think, again, speaking to that journey, it just felt for me like a very full circle moment to be there in that place with two of my favorite people in the world and to be able to kind of close that chapter of my career out on my terms. I had people who, like Jeff mentioned, said I would never run again. I was old. I was washed up, blah, 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 blah. I went on that year to win British championships. I went on to run some of the fastest times I had run in years. I made my third Olympic team, first one as a mom. That year, Cindy and I got a European medal indoor. And I just think...
I got European medals indoor.
You got two European medals as a coach.
No, you know.
I give you your flowers. You acting like I don't be giving you your props.
I got two. I know you got one. I got two.
Point I'm trying to make is I just think that when you are on that journey and you really have this unwavering faith that something is going to shake, more often than not, something's going to shake. So I could have listened to those haters and been like, I'm done. I don't want to come back. Yeah, I was, 32 at the time. I'm too old, blah, blah, blah. I'm a mom. Moms can't run track and all these lies. And I think my story would have been so different had I listened to that. And then even my sister, she had a career-ending injury. She and I have talked about this. I will go ahead and link that video for you guys to check out as well. But folks told her she wasn't going to run again. Not only did she run again, she also got a European medal. She freaking ran super fast that year. She made it to her second Olympic Games and she ran again. So I just think knowing that people are going to have opinions, good, bad, or ugly, that is none of your business, none of your concern, what people think about you.
Well, y'all didn't make my job easy as a coach. You didn't.
He'd be talking like he didn't like coaching us. You guys, he loved it.
Y'all make it easy. I got an Achilles rupture and I got a pregnancy to get back to. They made my job hard, didn't they?
Actually, I never asked you this before, but which one was harder to kind of, I wouldn't say to coach because we've talked about it in those previous videos, refer back to those if you want, about how we're different athletes. But in terms of like I guess, the uphill battle. What's harder to come back from, an Achilles rupture or a pregnancy?
Both of y'all, like,
no. If you had to say,
nope.
You have to. Don't be trying to be a politician over here.
Both of y'all, because you're still operating like 2009 div, and we're in 2021. Cindy is still trying to figure out how her body is adjusting because her entire body got thrown off. So you both had different challenges we had to overcome. But again, I think the conversation is that we understood the challenge ahead, and you guys realized that this wasn't going to be easy. Part of it is because I kept yelling and drilling into your head that this wasn't going to be easy, but also understanding like we had to train you all differently. Which again, it took Cindy a long time to get back. It took her time, and then you also, like, COVID was the best thing to happen to you because we had time to get you back.
That extra year of preparation heading into the Olympics.
And you guys were upset about it, and I was thrilled.
Okay, well, he wasn't thrilled about COVID. Let's be very clear.
No, I was thrilled I had another year to get you ready to go.
Yes.
Which meant that now you had more time to prepare. So the entire part of that story is just the fact that we've got to understand the different challenges. Once you have a good understanding what those are, you can navigate them in an effective way, but you've got to adapt.
But I do think there are two huge lessons here from what we just talked about. Number one, the beauty of adaptability. Honestly, I've mentioned it in blogs before. I've mentioned it all the time, but being able to adapt and adjust on the fly is literally a superpower. And I know that sometimes adaptability can be a buzzword, like when you're in interviews, but this is what it looks like. Literally, you are training for the Olympic Games. You're gearing up to run in 2020. COVID happens. What you gonna do? You gonna retire and say, "Oh, I was only gonna give it 1 year," or you gonna readjust and go for one more year and have an additional year of preparation to get you there? So adaptability is so important, not only as an athlete, just as a human in general. It is a superpower. Number two, to me, one of the key lessons that I learned from having my husband, coach me to my third Olympic Games and having my sister there on my side as my best friend, my training partner, my competitor, but still my sister at the end of the day, is the power of team. And I know, again, teamwork and having a good team, all of these, again, are buzzwords, but this is practically what it looks like. Can you imagine coming back from a pregnancy as a seasoned and older athlete where people kind of told you that you want to run again? Coming back from an Achilles rupture where people literally told you you weren't going to run again. Both of us coming back with our own journeys to make the Olympic Games, to get those European medals, to run our fastest times, to be consistent, and all of these things. Could you imagine trying to do that without a good team? I mean, really, like, my husband was my biggest supporter during that time. Shout out to Jordan. She was a huge instrumental part in helping us care for our child while we would be at those practices. Jordan would come to the track with my daughter, and I would be nursing her in between sessions while I was running to prepare for the Olympic Games.
Getting cussed out while she's resting.
For my husband / coach. And I just say all this to say that having the proper people around you can make such a huge impact in your life, not only as an athlete, but just as a person. So I know it might sound cliche, but surround yourself with like-minded people, people who support your journey, people who want to see you win, and watch how things flourish for you.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Shout out to JP for joining me on this one. Comment down below if you want me to do a part 2, if you want me to elaborate on anything that we discussed today.
I can tell you, we can talk about the village and the... No, is this you?
Okay,
sorry.
You guys, you see this? He is here talking about part 2. We're going to go into the Olympic experience in the village. Thank you for that suggestion, babe. We'll record that video down, and if we get enough likes on this video, I will make that part 2 happen.
The part that basically going to tell us that part 2 ain't going to happen because they're not going to like it.
I know part 2 of this video is going to happen because my community, they show up for me. They show out, and I appreciate every single one of you guys.
They're not going to like this video.
They're going to like this video. You guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you found any value from this video, and I hope you did enjoy this conversation, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.